W Montreal has been teasing fans of a new Batman game in anticipation of the reveal at DC FanDome this Saturday. One of the teases includes Batgirl being a possible character in the upcoming video game. With recent news of sexual harassment at a sister studio, and Batgirl's history with sexual abuse and harassment, could those factors pose a threat to the new Batman video game? Before anything guys, hit that like button because liking these videos lets me know that you love them. Hit that subscribe notification bell so you miss any videos just like this one. Let's get to the news. DC FanDome is just 2 days away as of this recording, and W Montreal is expected to announce a new Batman video game at the event. And this week they've been tweeting cryptic messages with clues and teases which give us a better picture of what the game could possibly be about. The upcoming video game is rumored to be titled Batman Gotham Knights and pit the Caped Crusader against the secret society known as the Court of Owls. And on Monday, W Montreal tweeted a message that flashed a symbol that represents the Court of Owls. On Tuesday they tweeted another message with various 3-digit codes that can be decoded daily up until DC FanDome. And each day a new clue for the video game will be revealed. IGN has done some detective decoding work and has found out that the codes provided is actually the barcode for Detective Comics 359, which is the first time Barbara Gordon's Batgirl makes an appearance. With this finding, it's likely that Batgirl has some type of involvement in the new video game. A Twitter user known as Pressobard uncovered further details on a map within the website's files that is rumored to be a part of the game, hinting at the possibility that Two-Face could be a villain in the upcoming game. A teaser or trailer while expected at DC FanDome could be revealed beforehand given all these clues and teases which have fans speculating. Given that the main villains of the video game are going to be the Court of Owls, who are they exactly? IGN gives a brief history of the secret society and its history with Batman. Beware the Court of Owls began a local nursery rhyme that watches all the time, ruling Gotham from a shadowed perch behind granite and lime. When Bruce Wayne was placed in the crosshairs of an assassination plot, he learned that the court and its assassins are very real. Some of Gotham's wealthiest and most well-connected families made up the Court of Owls. For centuries, they used their power and influence to turn the tides of politics and control the city according to their designs, often resorting to the use of highly trained assassins called Talons to achieve their nefarious goals. The Wayne family was one of the Cabal's long-standing rivals. Alan Wayne, one of the city's builders and Bruce's great-great-grandfather, was plagued by the Court of Owls until they tortured him to death in 1922. As a boy, Bruce himself has heeded the legend and is suspected that the court has some type of involvement in his parents' deaths, believing that their murder was too random to be mere coincidence. In many ways, it was my first case as a detective, he told Dick Grayson. Bruce found no trace of them or their involvement in the Wayne's deaths. He sporadically looked into the society as he honed his skills as an adult, but the court eluded his sight until he became a target himself. After surviving the assassination attempt, Batman deduced the location of their hideouts, the first of which was founded as long ago as the 1800s. The Dark Knight quickly earned the group's ire, and the Court of Owls declared war on the city they intended to keep ruling. They deemed it the Night of the Owls, and its events reverberated across multiple titles in the DC universe. As the court targeted Gotham's leaders for assassination during the Long Night, and succeeded in eliminating many of them, the fight to save the city would involve every member of the Bat family, from Jason Todd to Barbara Gordon, Alfred Pennyworth, and even the Batcave itself. Batman and his allies ultimately triumphed, and before the ruling members of the group could be brought to justice, they seemingly committed suicide, leaving Batman without answers to his many questions about this elusive and powerful organization. The Court of Owls were defeated, but not completely gone, disappearing into shadows once again. So the last part of the history said that every member of the Bat family had to be involved to take down the Court of Owls, including Barbara Gordon, also known as Batgirl. Given that history, that would coincide with the hints that Batgirl should be a part of the new upcoming video game. Batgirl's history with the Court of Owls involves a court's assassins known as Talons. A Talon member known as Mary is sent to coerce Commissioner Gordon into letting his police force handle the Night of Owls ineffectively, and into inadvertently lighting a modified bat signal which fills the skies with the symbol of the Court of Owls, thereby killing hope that the Batman will save Gotham. She faces Batgirl but lets her go because they both wear masks. Later, Catwoman breaks Mary out of the Blackgate Penitentiary, having been hired by a prominent member of the court. When she realizes his motivations though, she turns on him, and with Batgirl they defeat his Talons, including Mary, who turned on her master in the name of friendship with the two women. So the reason I bring up the premise of the new video game and highlight Batgirl's presence in the video game given the premise is that it was brought to light this week that Rocksteady, the game studio that's making the new Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League video game, has been accused of inaction over sexual harassment claims, which puts Rocksteady and WB Games, including W Montreal, in an awkward position. And I know you're probably like, Justin, what does that have to do with Batgirl, the new Batman video game? Well, be patient with me, and trust me, when we get through all this, it'll make more sense. So details from The Guardian about the accusations say that more than half the women employed at the London-based video game developer 2 years ago signed a letter to bosses accusing the studio of failing to prevent sexual harassment and inappropriate behavior in the workplace. The letter, dated November 18th and signed by 10 of the company's 16 female staff at the time, raised complaints about behavior including slurs regarding transgender community and discussing a woman in a derogatory or sexual manner with other colleagues, and sexual harassment in the form of unwanted advances, leering at parts of a woman's body, and inappropriate comments in the office. Since then, it is claimed that the response has amounted to one training seminar, and that multiple signers have left the company owing to the lack of action. One of the signers of the letter, who asked to remain anonymous, said she had decided to share the letter with The Guardian because she felt people were still suffering from the sexism, harassment, and inappropriate behavior at Rocksteady. She said the letter was kept private in part due to the company's devotion to secrecy, which is not unusual in the video game sector, and in part because staff members fear that if they left on bad terms, they would be denied credit on the company's upcoming game, an adaptation of DC Comics' Suicide Squad. Rocksteady has acknowledged it had received complaints about sexual discrimination and harassment. From day one at Rocksteady Studios, we set out to create a place where people are looked after, a place fundamentally built on respect and inclusion, a spokesperson said. In 2018, we received a letter from some of our female employees expressing concerns that they had at the time, and we immediately took firm measures to address the matters that were raised. Over the subsequent 2 years, we have carefully listened to and learned from our employees, working to ensure every person on the team feels supported. In 2020, we are more passionate than ever to continue to develop our inclusive culture, and we are determined to stand up for all of our staff. Last Thursday, after The Guardian contacted Rocksteady for comment, management called an all-staff meeting where they discussed the letter for the first time, and new initiatives were promised to prevent further discrimination. So the reason Batgirl's involved with all this is that you have a video game studio dealing with sexual harassment of women, and you have a popular female character about to be in a new video game who has been potentially raped or sexually harassed in the comics and movie versions of the Batman Killing Joke. In the movie version of The Killing Joke, Joker kidnaps Barbara Gordon, and there's a line that suggests that the Joker potentially rapes her. In a scene, Batman talks to a group of prostitutes who say the Joker always goes to a brothel when he breaks out of Arkham. This time he didn't, and one of the prostitutes concludes maybe he found himself another girl, implying that he either raped, sexually abused, or sexually harassed Barbara Gordon. So how does this affect Rocksteady, WB Montreal, and WB Games overall? Well, from a PR standpoint, given the current climate of what's gone on in the world already, such as the allegations of harassment at Ubisoft where the chief creative officer has already stepped down because of it, and you have all the news surrounding Ellen and what's been going on behind the scenes at her show, this news is just another example that will probably have some type of consequence to show the public that positive change can happen. The fact that many feared retaliation or leaving on bad terms because of the harassment allegations they brought to Rocksteady and potentially losing out on credit on the new upcoming Suicide Squad video game, that doesn't look good for Rocksteady or WB Games. Even though WB Montreal is not Rocksteady, it is still a part of the WB Games umbrella of studios, and because of that, Rocksteady is still a representation of WB Games in all its sister studios. Given Batgirl's involvement potentially in the upcoming video game, I think if WB Games doesn't play its cards right and actually get in front of this news, it could potentially be a PR nightmare and overshadow the video game and possibly even DC FanDome. WB Games doesn't want Batgirl, given her history with sexual harassment and abuse, to be a poster child for this cause. I know to some that may sound silly, but you may have forgotten that video game characters have become symbols for causes in the past, such as May from Overwatch, who became a symbol for the Hong Kong protests. So what should Rocksteady and WB Games do? If I was WB Games, I'd do a proper investigation into Rocksteady, and from that investigation, I would get rid of anyone that was involved or allowed for this to happen. 2 years is way too long for something like this to have happened in the workplace and not get addressed properly. One little training is not enough. And there really is an excuse why it wasn't handled better back in 2018. Once the investigation is done and the people that are involved are removed, they should make it clear to all other studios and all employees within AT&T, Warner Brothers, and WB Games that sexual harassment will not be tolerated in the workplace. Implement better training and standards, and set up better lines of communication for people that have been involved in sexual harassment in the workplace, and allow them to get the help that they need. I also think that given Batgirl's popularity and her strong feminist characteristics in the comics, and how impressionable she can be on young girls, given that Batgirl is used a lot in young girl and adolescent comics and books, I think AT&T, Warner Brothers, or WB Games should do some type of statement or press release and make donations to various charities for women who are involved with sexual harassment or abuse. And on top of all that, do some type of press junket or do some type of virtual meet and greet for young girls and young adolescent girls using the Batgirl character and use her to explain that sexual harassment in all situations is not right. Now, I know I said that she shouldn't be the poster child for this cause, but you can use her for good. What I was trying to say was you don't want her to be the poster child in a bad way, where people recognize Batgirl as a person of sexual harassment, and given the light of what's happened to the studio, you don't want people to automatically assume, oh, Batgirl equals sexual harassment, equals Batman, equals WB Games, etc., etc. But like I said, if you were able to get in front of this from a PR standpoint and use Batgirl, given her experience with a younger audience, and I'm only referring to the younger audience here, you could spin this and say, I'm Batgirl, and I want to give you the message that if you report and help prevent sexual harassment of all kinds, that could be heroic. And that makes the young females the heroes. Something like that. Now, I don't think this will ultimately prevent the video game from being released of any kind. I don't think this is actually going to do any type of super hard damage to the studios. I think ultimately it either will get swept under the rug, which is a disappointment, or I think what will happen is it'll start to fester over time, and just like everything else that's happened and come to light over the past, year or so, it will get handled like the rest of it, and executives or people in charge will be removed from positions and better policies will be put in place. So what are your thoughts on this issue? What do you think about the allegations of sexual harassment that basically went unaddressed for 2 years? Do you think that Rocksteady should be held accountable? And what are your thoughts about how that relates to Batgirl in the upcoming video game? That's it for this video, guys. If you enjoyed it, hit that like button. If you want to see more videos just like this one, hit that subscribe notification bell. And I'll see you guys next time on the Mashup.